Hi guys, I'm back again. Um, I'm going to be doing a faux Jasper today. Now, there's so many different variations of Jasper, and I saw one that I liked, and it didn't specify which one it was. It just said Jasper. So I tried to replicate it, and then what I like to do afterwards to see how authentic it looks, I do the reverse search on Google with your own photograph, and it came up with a specific kind of Jasper. For the life of me, I can't think what it's called right now, but obviously when I publish this video, I'll put it in the title what it is. But just for now, it's a variation of Jasper. And what I've got here is some translucent clay. Now I'm using Cernit, but you don't have to use Cernit. You can use any translucent clay, although I would recommend Cernit or white Premo translucent. Or Pardo translucent, because they're whiter than regular Premo translucent clay. So I've got some translucent here. Now it's rough measurements, guys, because you can make this as big as you want. It doesn't have to be specific measurements, but let's just say overall, not including some for a backing later down the road. This probably is equivalent to 1.5 blocks of a small block of clay. So I've got this larger piece, and this is rolled out onto a number 6, I believe. I think it was 6. It might have been 5. It's 5. So that's rolled onto a 5. And then I've got a strip here rolled onto a number 7. That's quite thin. 0 is the thickest setting on my pasta machine, which is an Atlas 150. So that's 7. I've also rolled out a little bit of Premo bronze. I'm not going to need all of this, but I've just rolled some out. And again, this is on a number 7. And then I've got another piece here rolled onto a 7. And then 3 equalish pieces here rolled onto a 5. And I'm going to change my mind on this translucent. I think I'm going to take that down to a 6. So that bigger piece, I've taken it down to a 6. So we've got 7, 7, 6, 5, and 5. Oh, and another piece here rolled onto a 7. So 3 lots of 7, 3 lots of 5, and then a bigger piece rolled onto a 6. Hope that makes sense. You'll also need some smallish round cutters like this. And I've bought myself some new inks. Now, when I did my practice run, I used my Picasso inks, but I'm going to do it with these Let's Resin inks. So I'm not convinced they're going to work out exactly the same, because the colours might be a little bit different. But what you need to go for are yellows, blues, and oranges. So I've got orange here, whatever that says, cerulean blue, lemon yellow, turquoise, yellow green, and it just says blue on that. And then I've also got this coffee colour, and then I've grabbed a Cernit ink as well, which is rust. So anything that you can find orangey, rusty colour. With this, you're going to have to play around with the colours to try and get the colour of the stone that you're aiming for, which is what I did. And I'll show you some of the ones that I've made where I was practicing and changing up the colours to see what I liked. All right, so that's really all you're going to need, and a pokey tool of some kind. Yeah, so you can impress into the clay, but that's down the road. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do then is colour these 3 pieces here, the ones that were rolled onto a 5. And I'm going to grab a brush. Now, you could mix your ink straight into a cup, but I'm just going to put it straight on the clay. So it's up to you how you want to do it. So this is going to be a little bit of an experiment, because I'm not entirely sure how these colours are going to work. So I've just got to keep playing with them until I'm happy with what I get. Let's move the coffee one out of the way, and the rust one can go out of the way. So for the first one then, I'm going to go with turquoise, orange, and green, and we'll see how that works. So turquoise, orange, and green. Let's go with the turquoise first, and I think I need to pierce these guys, so just give me a second, because I've literally just received them. I've not even used them yet. I'm just going to pierce that a little bit. And I've got a brush, and I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3 little blobs like that. And then I'm going to add a little bit of orange. I'm just going to go with 1 drop of that, and I'm just going to mix that in to see how I like that. Now that's going to be, that's probably actually quite close to what I'm looking for. So I'll leave it like that for now, and then I'll just add a drop of the yellow green. So this is all about just, you know, mixing your inks, and like I say, you can do it in a cup. I just do it straight on my clay like this to get a general idea. I'm going to add 2 drops of the yellow green to this, and I'm thinking 1 more drop of yellow. And this is all going to get thoroughly mixed into the clay, but it's just giving me an idea of how the colour's going to be. It might look a little bit muddy is my concern. Like I say, this is experiment time with the colours, because I didn't use these inks in my practice run, but I wanted to use them. But that's looking close to what I want. Obviously it's going to get mixed in, and it's probably going to look quite a bit lighter than that, but that's going to get thoroughly mixed in. So that's the first sheet. So I use the turquoise, orange and yellow green. This one, I'm going to try this cerulean, if that's how you pronounce it. Again, I don't know what it's going to look like because I've not used it yet. Let's just go with 1 drop. Just wiping my brush off a little bit, guys, just on a wet wipe. Now then, oh, that's a nice colour. I think I'm going to add 1 more drop of that. And then let's go with this lemon yellow. Oops. Because the stone I was looking at, there is green in it, but there's also like a leaning more towards a blue as well, like a, not exactly turquoise, but a bluey green. So this is looking like it's going to work for what I'm looking for. It's just slightly more blue. She says that, and then I'm going to add a drop of blue. Oh, I didn't open that one yet. So yeah, I mean, you can follow me exactly. I'm going slow enough that you can see what I'm doing, or you can just get a picture of your own Jasper and see what you like. Let me just compare that to that. Yeah, see, I want a little bit more blue in that, I think. And I think that's good. Again, that's going to get thoroughly mixed. I'm just a bit concerned about this. What you can do is you can mix your colours and then come back to it. And if you don't like it, you can add. Obviously, you can't take away, but you can add to change the colour a little bit. And then the last one, this one I want a little bit lighter, so I'm just going to go with the yellow green, just a couple of drops, and a drop of the yellow, lemon yellow, and I'm just going to, and I think that's good like that, guys, honestly. Although it might be a little bit too green. So I'm just going to smush some of this onto my brush so there's not quite as much ink on there. And we'll see what that looks like, but I might need to alter it. All right, so again, it's just messing around with the colours, see what you like. And at the end of the day, who cares if it doesn't exactly look like the stone? I mean, it will look stone-like, and it will look like a Jasper. The colours might not necessarily be exact. All right, so that's that done. Now on this piece here, the one that was rolled onto a 7, I'm going to get the coffee coloured ink. You could use a dark brown, you know, anything that's like a dark brown, or maybe even black, although I don't really want to use black in this, but you could. This isn't going to get mixed into the clay. I'm just going to brush it straight over like this. And it's going to be left like that. Just need to add a bit more. I think I'll use my finger to rub it over. So I'm just rubbing that on. I actually think that's not going to be as dark as I would like. So I'm going to grab this espresso, which is a Ranger ink. Again, messing around with colour. I would prefer this to be a bit darker. So I'm actually going to go over the top with this espresso. Doesn't matter that that's underneath. Like I say, I hadn't used these inks yet, so we're just going to resort to the one that I originally used because it is darker. Okay, so yes, I have practiced this in terms of the technique, but this is more of an experiment with the colours, so you can kind of see a little bit of my work in progress and how I, decide what I'm going to do and whether I like it or not, and just playing around. Because a few people have asked me to do that kind of video. So yes, the technique has been practiced, but the colours have not. So we'll see how it works out. But then I can compare it to other ones that I made and show you those. So that's going to be left to dry, and that's going to be left like that, okay? It's not going to be mixed in. And then this one, and I'm just going to put all the lids back on my inks before I knock them over, guys. And move them out of the way. We may come back to them, we may not. It depends how the colours look once I've mixed them. Alright, so this last little piece here then, this bigger piece is staying translucent, so you don't need to do anything with that. This one, I'm going to get the rust ink from Cernit, and I have to be careful with this because the lid broke. Just make sure my brush is a bit clean before dipping it in there. And I'm just going to dip my brush in because I don't want to pour it in case I spill it everywhere. And in actual fact, the Let's Resin coffee looks more like this, doesn't it? But this is actually called rust. So that's just going to get painted all over, and that's going to be left as is. It's not going to get mixed in. All right, guys? Just a little bit more. You don't have to be neat about it. This is quite a organic technique. All right, so that's that, and that's fine. That like that, it's not going to get mixed in. All right, so that's going to get put to one side to dry. Let's just quickly clean up. So you've got a piece of clay painted with rust that's going to be left as is. A piece of Premo bronze rolled out onto a number 7 like that. That's also a 7. And another piece rolled out onto another 7, number 7 with the coffee, which I've just tore, but never mind. And then you've got that bigger piece that I showed you rolled onto a 6, left as is. And then we've got the ones with the different greens and blues on them that I'm now going to thoroughly mix in and see what they look like, and I'll be back. I've mixed all those in then, and this is what I've got. I'm happy with this lighter green, so that can stay. I'm happy with the bluey green, but this one I want it a little bit greener, so I am going to grab, which one shall I go with? I think I'm just going to go with the turquoise because it's bluey green, and I'm just going to add a couple of drops more of that and then mix that in. I just want it a little bit greener, guys. So I'm just adding that. I'll go and mix this. All right, I've got all my colours ready now, and I'm happy with these colours. So we can start working with this now. And I did tear this piece a bit, but not to worry, it's still usable. It's all going to get torn up anyway. Right, I'm trying to think what's best to start with. I'm just see if this is dry. Yeah, it seems to be dry. All right, so I'm going to start with a piece of translucent at the bottom, just like a little bit of a base. And you just, sorry guys, I'm off camera. You just tear in strips like this. It's not neat and tidy. It's pretty organic. All right, so I'm just going to start with my base of translucent, and then I'm just going to literally stack on the colours one on top of the other in strips like this. No particular order. You can go dark to light, light to dark, mix it up, whatever, and it's okay to overlap the little strips like so. You can do bigger strips, smaller strips, you know, little tiny pieces like that. It all adds to the look of the stone. All right, so that's the colours. Let's just get rid of this bit, seeing as it's there. Pop that there, and I'm just going to grab another little bit of that. No rhyme or reason, guys. You're just randomly placing little pieces like that. Then what I want to do is get my clay that was coloured in rust, and I'm just going to lay a sheet of that over. It doesn't have to cover the whole area. It's perfectly fine like that. I will just put a little bit there though. Okay. Then you're going to get your blade blunt side down. I've just got to keep shuffling my clay around a bit, guys, to give me room. And you're just going to do some little cuts. Whoops. But not all the way through like that. If you can help it, squish it back together. So you're just going to go like that. And I like to give it a little bit of a wobble as well. Help to push this rusty coloured looking clay through the stack. So just a few random cuts like that. And then I'm going to grab another piece of translucent, again just a strip, and pop that on there like so. And that's all you're going to do, and you're just going to keep on doing that. So I'll do a little bit more on camera just so you get the idea. Again, you're just tearing random pieces like so. Let's get a bit of this darker blue in again. Overlapped little pieces, big pieces. And here, and just periodically through the stacks, I don't want a lot of this in the stone, just a little bit of the bronze, just some tiny little bits that will give it a little bit of a bronze highlight here and there as you cut through at the end. So just tiny bits. Okay, give it a little smoosh, add a little bit more translucent, or you don't have to. I just used it because it's there. And then you're going to get your rust again and tear some more of that off and pop that there. And this time I'm also going to add some of the coffee clay as well. And it can be as random as that, guys. All right, so I'll do a little bit more. So just what I've been doing. When I've done this here, then I'll start with the translucent again, go on to the colours, throw in a little bit of the bronze, tiny bits, a little bit more rust, but you need to make sure that you've got at least a decent strip of the rust left, because that needs to be there at the end. And the same with the coffee, so you can use a little bit of that and a little bit of that, but make sure you've got some of this left over and some of this left over. In fact, what I'll do is I'll just go through all of that, you know, the trans, the colours, a little bit of the bronze, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then when I come to the last layer, I'll show you, but make sure you don't use all of that up. Again, just cuts through and give it a little wiggle here and there. Just random cuts. All right, and then the translucent again, put that on top. Doesn't have to be a whole sheet. I didn't put any copper in, but I can now. It really doesn't matter which order you do it in, guys. So just a few little bits of that copper again, not copper, bronze. And then I'll start with the colours again, the greens. And a little bit of this and a little bit of this, but make sure you leave a strip of this and a strip of this. I'll be back. All right, guys, I've continued with my layers, and I've just got a little tiny bit left, so I'll just show you the last layer. So your last little piece of translucent, I'm just going to get rid of that excess. I'm just going to cover the whole area. A little bit of the bluey green, darker bluey green. You just keep going until you've used it all up, and I'm probably not even going to use it all up, but that's fine. All right, a little bit of the green, light green, a tiny bit of the copper here and there. Very, very random. which is what makes it fun and what makes it easy as well, because it's not overcomplicated. Just a little bit more of this here and there. I'm just using up as much of it as I can, but there's a little bit left, but I'm good with that. All right, and like I said, I left over a piece of the rust and the coffee. So that's going to go on top, like so. We've still got to use this bronze in a little while, well, some of it, not all of it. And again, I'm just going to get my blade and do some cuts here and there, like so. And as you can see, I've kind of started to form it into more of a block, just to give it a little bit of a shape. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my roller and just roll it a little bit. Like I say, I'm just trying to get it into more of a block now, rectangular block or square block. Excuse me. So I'm just going to do this for a little while just to get it into a, I think I'll stick with a rectangle block. I just want to make sure it's all stuck together and conditioned and everything else, although it was already conditioned, but all right. So I'm going to get this again and just roll it out slightly thinner, not by a lot. Let's go on the other side as well to help it catch up with itself on the back. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to make a few more grooves in it, not with the blade, but with something that you can poke into it like this. And I'm just going to kind of push and rock, and you're going to make like little ripples almost. Just kind of pushing it up to itself, if that makes sense, guys. Just push and rock. Now, I want to try and get down fairly deep if I can. Not necessarily all over the piece, but so I'm just doing that and making random little impressions here and there. It just all adds to the overall look of the stone. Gives it a bit of a rippled look. Oh, like so. And I could always do some more, but I think that will do for this part. I'm just going to roll it out and try and smush that back together into more of a rectangle again. So you can see I've just smushed into the clay like that, and it's almost like causing ripples. Hopefully, anyway. I found that when I'm making stones, obviously it's trial and error. I don't always get it the way I want it straight away, so I practice and try it again until I'm happy with it. Do I think my stones look exactly like the real thing? No. But people know what it is. That's good enough for me. All right. So when you've done that and rolled it back out and you've got it into a nice little oblong block like this, you're then going to grab that last piece of bronze, which obviously I don't need all of it. And I'm just going to pop that on there. And put that little bit there as well, just to cover the whole area. Put this to one side. And I'm just going to do one last push into it like this. You could even just go with the blade, or you can do both, whatever you fancy, guys. I'll do a bit of both, I think. It's quite hard getting this pushed into the clay. It's hurting my fingers. But, you know, we'll get there. So I'm just pushing and rocking, just to give it a rippled look. And I think that's good. So again, I'm just going to lift it, roll over it quickly first, lift it, and start mushing it into a block again. Give it another quick roll. I've got an itchy nose. And that's really all there is to it in terms of the technique. Pretty easy. I think you'll have fun with this one, deciding what colours look good and all the rest of it. I hope you do anyway. Right, so there we go, there's my block. I'm keeping it more rectangular, like so. Just want to mush it just a bit more, make it a bit deeper. But that's good. Alright, so there's your block. I'm going to bring over my backing sheet here. And I'm going to grab a different blade. Smaller one, bendy one. And this is where you start slicing. Now, obviously, I don't want all of this bronze on the top, so I'm just going to start by taking off very thin pieces. And these can be used, obviously. I'm not going to waste them, but I like to use these to add on. You'll see what I mean in a sec. So I'm just taking very thin pieces, just getting rid of a lot of that bronze, which will be used, all right? So that's what it looks like underneath. And now I'm just going to start taking bigger slices, as thin as you can get. It doesn't have to be tissue thin, but decide which side you like better rather. Place it on your backing sheet, and then I'm going to grab one of these and pop that next to it there, like so. So that can be one piece when I get to cutting it out. Let's just take a few more slices. It always looks a bit odd to me before it's baked, but once it's baked, it looks different again because the colours kind of fade or whatever it's they do in the oven, and the translucency shows through. So that's it really, guys, and I'm just taking off slices. So I'll make a few pieces. I'll do a couple on camera. We'll see what they look like when they're baked. They might not look the same as my other ones. So I probably should have just stuck to the colours that I'd already used, but I wanted to try these out. So, and we'll compare them, and I'll show you the colours that I used for my original trial run. All right, it's pretty cool. Different pattern as you go down. It varies as you go down through the stack, but that's pretty cool. So let's just do this one first, seeing as I've already placed it on my backing sheet. This one's a bit chunky, I might have to thin that one out a bit. And I'm just going to make sure my roller is clean and just quite simply roll over it like so. And I think for this one, I'm not going to bother using a cutter. I think I'm going to freehand it, guys, to give it a more organic looking shape. So let me just cut that away. Oops. Move that to one side, and then we've got another bit there that we can remove. Now I'm just going to stretch it out a bit. I'm going to stick it on the tile now. Make sure it's nice and smooth, and I'm just going to cut a random shape from it and just kind of follow the shape it's in. Or you can just use a cutter. It's entirely up to you. So let's just go with a bit of a quirky angle on there. And I think I'm going to leave it as is, guys, like that. A bit of an organic shape. All right, so that's the first piece. I just like to get my blade and nudge it around the edges just to round off those edges a little bit. Like so. All right, so that's the first piece. I don't know which way I'm going to hang it yet. Maybe that way. I don't know. But that's the first piece. I'll put that on some paper, on top of a tile, on top of a baking tin, baking sheet, and put it in the oven. Right, now this one I rolled out a bit thick, cut out a bit thick, so I'm just going to remove some of that. See which side I like better. Both look pretty good. I'm just going to pop that on there like so. I'm going to thin this out a little bit more. I really cut this wonky. Just take some little bits of it and pop it there. Still a bit thick. So it really is just random slices, guys. And I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger, I think. Let's pop that on top of there. And it's fine to overlap it a little bit. And I'm just going to, same thing, going to roll it out like so. I don't really like doing it on the tile because it can leave, you know, pits in the bottom of the clay. But I didn't bring any paper down with me, guys, so I'm going to have to. All right, so I'm just making sure it's smooth. Ideally, I'd like to burnish it with some paper. Let me just grab this little bit that I've got and just give it a quick burnish. That should be good. All right, so there's that one. And I'm just going to grab a circle cutter and cut this out like so. Get the bit that I like the best. Just going to stretch it a little bit. There we go. That's good. Cut it out. Don't throw these bits away. I've got all those little bits of green and whatnot left. This could make a really nice chippy choppy. All right, so there's my circle one. You know I like to do a circle one. I just like circle pendants, round pendants. And I'm going to use this to dome it on, and it's one of those oil burner refill dish things. I've got those listed on my Amazon storefront. Speaking of which, guys, I'm having issues with my Amazon storefront. It's not allowing me to post any new products. I've been in touch with them, so hopefully it will get sorted soon. Obviously, everything that's already on there is on there, but it's not letting me put anything new up there for some reason. It does it and then it just disappears again. The product just disappears again. So it's obviously a glitch on their end. So, like the new inks that I showed you, I'm not going to be able to post them because it's not letting me post anything. So I'm just putting that on there to give it a nice dome, giving it a little smooth. I like to just press with my palm just so it gets nicely pressed on there. I'm just going to give this a quick wipe. I use isopropyl alcohol, aka rubbing alcohol, and a wipe just to clean it off. So that's going to be a nice domed piece. All right, guys. So there's that one. There's the one that I did freehand. Whoops. I'll do a few more off camera, guys, and I'll bake them, and I'll be back. Oops, you know what I forgot to do, guys? I forgot to use these circle cutters to impress into the clay. No biggie. You can do that if you want to. I forgot to. It hasn't made that much of a difference, but if you want to do that as well, just as an extra, you know, impression. I didn't. I forgot. But there you go. Just so you don't yell at me when you didn't use the cutters. No, I forgot. But you don't have to do that. It looks pretty much the same as what I did before, so I'm not worried. All right, I'll be back. Okay, guys, I baked them. I sanded them with a 300 grit wet and dry sandpaper, just because it helps the resin to grip to something. So these are the ones that I did from this batch that I showed you. So there's that freeform one that I did, and this one too. Aren't they gorgeous? I absolutely love them. And then I did another freeform one as well. And then one using a cutter, which I used where is it? Where is it? I used this one from Ojoy Creations. Everything is listed and linked in the pinned comment. Oh, I think I smudged that. Oh no, it's fine. Panic there. But I love these. I love them. Now this one I can see a little bit of air bubbles on the resin. Now if that happens, guys, you can just go over with another coat of resin. It sometimes does that. It's a temperature thing. But you can just go back over. You can even just give it another quick sand and then go back over it. Resin doesn't highlight any blemishes or anything, but you can get a little bit of air bubble in it sometimes. So there's those, all from the same batch. Oh, and this little one here as well. Now I used this one for this, and these are from Kaylee Clay. Now she's based in England, so if you're in England, that's great for you. I love her cutters, and then of course I've got Ojoy Creations based in USA. And then this one from the same batch, but I sanded and buffed this one, partly because it's domed and it's trickier to resin domed pieces, but I just love that. Gorgeous. Sanded and buffed. I've got a video on how I do that. I'll leave it in the pinned comment along with all the other links and everything else. All right, so they're from this batch using those Let's Resin colours. So, you know, you can just mix and match. But as long as you go with like blues and oranges and yellowies, turquoisey colours. So I used all of these today, lemon yellow and then yellow green. So they're kind of blues, turquoises, oranges. But that's what I used today to get this look, along with the coffee, which wasn't that dark, so I kind of ditched that and just went with the espresso from Ranger, and I used that in this batch and the batch that I'm going to show you. So that in both, these in this one, and then also the rust, but this was used in both as well. So let me just show you the previous batch that I did so you can see a little bit of a difference. Not a great deal. I think I did pretty well in getting the colours pretty close. I will say this is probably a little bit more on the bluey side, more of a turquoisey, as opposed to these ones. But there's ones that I did use in the Picasso inks, which are here. And again, just yellows, turquoise, orangey, this is called sunset, orange, marigold, manganese blue. So again, same colours, but a different brand. All right, so that's sanded and buffed as well. So I did that one. This one looks a little busier. The pattern's a little bit more patterny, whereas this has got more of an open pattern. And I do think that these ones are a little busier. I'm not quite sure what I did different, other than I maybe didn't layer up as many layers of, you know, the green and blue clays. And I also did the circles on this one. So the 3 circles I showed you, just stamp the circles in. I don't think it's made that much of a difference. I mean, that's from this batch, pretty close. But again, it will look different depending on where you cut as well. And then these ones as well. And again, a little bit more of an open pattern. And then this one, and this is my last batch, not this batch. So they're all there. And these are all this batch. I had some leftovers, so I just did a chippy chopping through some copper mica powder in there, and then just did half of the Jasper, half of the chippy choppy. It still looks like Jasper, guys. All right, so they're all the pieces that I did. This side was using the Picasso colours, this side was using Let's Resin. A slight variation in terms of pattern. You're never going to get exactly the same. Like this is from this batch and it's a little bit more open, but this one looks a little bit more busy. But let me just show you the pictures that I kind of went with to get this look. So I think it's pretty close, guys. Not exact, obviously, but these are all Morrisonite Jaspers, and you can see how much they vary in colour. But, you know, mine are pretty close, you know, to these two. Pretty close, all right? And then this one, which is, you know, pretty close to that, if you think about it, if you look at it. And again, that's a Morrisonite Jasper. So that's where I got my inspiration from. And those are all the pieces, guys. So just have fun messing around with mixing the colours and getting the colours you want. But bear in mind that these Jaspers do vary quite a bit. So don't beat yourself up if it's not exact. But there we go. Morrisonite Jasper. All right, guys. Thanks for watching and I'll catch you later. Bye.